Let's now see what InfraNodus will recommend as the next question. So it visualizes what you just said as a graph. The most influential words according to graph analysis are world, perspective, body, render, and person, which kind of sums up your answer in a way. And also it shows the main topics with the different colors based on the words that you used and the connections between them. And here you have one which is about perspective that the body provides. The person lives in some long time ago and who's 90 years old. And then also how it would be interesting to have not a very predictable identity, and also how to render someone's worldview real. And then based on that, InfraNodus is proposing us to look at these topics, which we just did, and to then see if we can detect some interesting relations. So for example, it proposes us to think of the connections between these two topical clusters. One is the worldview render real, and it was used when you said that you would like to find a profile or a quality of worldviews that are different than mine, to see how they render the real world. So what would be the connection between that and the idea that you could use a predictable identity that would be not so interesting? So maybe the question here is, um, what makes for you interesting to see a worldview of someone who you cannot predict? Like, why do you have this particular aspiration for something like that?
Well, I guess that the intention will be to provide to myself an experience of alterity through which I can then return to my own self and being able to question it now to the experience of being somebody else. So I think that this will definitely make much more, it will make more relative all my positions in this world, and also maybe it will increase the capacity of empathy. And this contrast might also maybe even shock to the extent that I cannot continue being the person that I am.
Okay, so let's see what would be the next question that the system proposes us to think about. So here it says that what about the connection between person, year, live? So this was about 90-year-old person who lived 1,000 years ago, and then your experience, how it makes your relative positions in this world and makes you question the world. So for example, here it's really clear. Why then also this interest in time? Because you said years, so 90 years old, 1,000 years ago. Is there some particular interest to find relevance in terms of the time scale that you're dealing with? Or you think this would be maybe the most shocking for you or most interesting? Why time?
Yes. Well, I guess when I want to be curious about something, time always increases my curiosity, because it's what I can witness every day. That is the main factor of change, time. So since time contributes to change, this is why I thought that this parameter can provide me such an experience of alterity, either because of the age or either because of the time in history. Which the age still eventually possible for me. Who knows if I will live that long? But history is definitely impossible. So that would be also interesting if that actually could be possible to choose. It's like traveling in time.
Okay, let's see. So now we have this graph of what you just said. There is the world, provide, perspective, body, time, experience, contrast, person, age. Let's see if there is any other interesting recommendation. So for example, here, the interesting thing that it proposes at this point when the graph becomes quite interconnected, that it says, okay, choose the most influential nodes. So the words that you use quite a lot are the word, perspective, provide, and then remove them from the graph to reveal other important patterns. And then based on these patterns, we start exploring the parts of your answer which are maybe not yet as much on the surface as the most influential term. So for example, here, what comes up is that it says, okay, if we remove the idea of changing perspective, providing a different perspective and also perspective about the world, then what we see is that the graph, so here it says the graph is too biased towards the following nodes: age, time, person. So we talked a lot about just now actually how time is important and how age is important to experience another person or to change your own person. So then it proposes us to develop ideas on the periphery, something that renders the worldview real, so we can click on that and see in which context it was used. This idea of worldviews that are different than yours, to see how they render the real world and to compare it with your own worldview. Okay, and then another one which was talking about this age. So there it makes me think, okay, if we're talking about different perspectives, and we already talked about years and the age and when the person lived, and then at the same time there is this importance to see another worldview. Can you think of something else? So this is also the continuation or the variation of the question in the book, actually. What other perspective would you choose? Like you named one, which is a 90-year-old person who lived 1,000 years ago. Is there anything that is completely different from that that you could think of that could provide you this render of a completely different worldview? That could be interesting.